afternoon. Before 2011, people could stay on temporary welfare for as long as they wanted. The rules for eligibility in Maine were, when in doubt, Maine did that. Maine ranked first in the nation for welfare as a welfare state. Despite what we all say, despite all the screaming and hollering that you've heard over the last several months, all the reforms we've done, we've fallen from number 1 to number 3. Just to give you an idea how far out we are with the rest of the country. We've implemented a 60-month cap on TANF benefits. We've cracked down on EBT use. We have an innovative program of welfare to work. We've provided over 2,000 TANF recipients with vocational assessments and placed 856 of those people into jobs and internships or training. Over 850 people who would probably be sitting at home wondering what they do with the rest of their lives are now being trained to get into a productive job and be providing for their families and contributing to society. And I'm pleased to be joined here today with Danielle and Jill, who have shown that it's possible to have a hand up, get into a program, and get off the program in due course. They did not abuse the system, but when they needed help, the system was there for them. But they made it happen for themselves. Danielle and Jill, I am proud of you, and we are all proud of you for what you've accomplished. But we still have a long ways to go. There's more that we can do to strengthen our programs. Able-bodied people should be asked to get the work skills necessary to become productive members of society. Maine taxpayers shouldn't have to face a $20 million fine because we didn't require welfare recipients to attempt to look for a job. TANF shouldn't be used for extended stays in Florida, California, Hawaii, and shouldn't be used at Disney World, Las Vegas. Today I'm introducing some new legislation to improve and ensure the integrity of the TANF program. Senate President Thibodeau will be the sponsor. It's the same bill that you've heard of before. It was introduced last year. But our liberal friends said no. They made all sorts of excuses. Well, as you saw in November, the people of Maine didn't buy it. They're demanding reform. They expect reform, and we are going to give them reform. Now legislators must decide if they want to work for the Maine people or if they want to work for the welfare activists. But there are a few new things in this bill. We want to align alternative aid programs with TANF. When the people hit the 60-month cap, they can't just go on alternative aid. We're also imposing a 6-month sanction on benefits for those who violate the TANF rules. The work of reform Maine's welfare system is not yet complete, but with the changes that we're proposing, we can create the kind of accountability the system needs for success. With all the work we did the first term, we are still ranked number 3. That's not where we need to be. We need to be at the bottom with Florida, Texas, and very, very prosperous states. And that's where we're failing. It's for failing to provide our society, the people of Maine, the opportunities. And I was just reading before lunch the consensus economic forecast, which says that if we don't do something pretty soon, we're going to die as a society because our workforce is shrinking and we need more young people. As us old guys and old folks are going to go into the sunset. And it's a fact of life. It's a simple fact of life that we are getting older and we're not attracting younger folks to the state. We are attempting to do that with our budget this year. We're attempting to do that with changes in the programs. And we're trying to get people like Danielle and Jill to tell their story to the Maine people that it can be done. And with that, I'm going to ask them to come up and each share a few words with you about what they've accomplished in a very short period of time. Who goes first? Danielle.
Good afternoon. My name is Danielle Forward, and I'm a former TANF recipient, and I do support the Common Sense Welfare Law. I began the TANF program in May of last year while I was also working 12 hours a week, attending school part-time while taking care of my son. When I first started, the program was nothing what I had expected. It was focused more on employment than it was the benefits I was going to be receiving. I spent 2 days taking a vocational skills assessment with one of the caseworkers who helped me identify not only my strengths but my weaknesses in order to put me in the correct career goal pathway. I received the support I needed, and I now have an amazing job with Maine Medical Center. I'm helping the same kind of people that I once was, helping them to be goal-oriented. As of last December, I am no longer a participant in TANF. I am a full-time working mom, continuing my education for my bachelor's of mental health and social services at the University of Maine. I look at it like this is what our safety net is supposed to be for. It's supposed to help people who genuinely need a hand up, not a handout. I think it bothers us who have been through this program to see people who abuse it every day by not looking for work or buying the things that the EBT card is not used for. I can say as a taxpayer who's paying for these benefits and someone who receives them that I use them appropriately, and the system needs to focus on the accountability and the results of how people use these funds. I would like to see the TANF program build better lives for other people. It helped me, and it's helped Jill as well. Not buying things like cigarettes and alcohol, using the money what it's there for. It's for our children as well. The governor's bill preserves the resources for people to use them who actually need them. It preserves social services from getting a bad name that we all know it has, and allows us to not have people who are abusing them. My name is Danielle. I've seen this firsthand, and I support reform. Thank you for your time.
Jill?
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Jill Rothrock, and I am also a former TANF recipient. Years ago, I faced a serious drug addiction and some very serious legal issues. And on top of all that, I was an unemployed single mother. I made the decision to get clean and sober to turn my life around, and not only for myself, but for my 2 girls. And the TANF Inspire program, it's directly responsible for helping me to achieve my goals. I was provided support in several forms. It wasn't just cash, as everybody thinks. They helped me pay for clothes so I could go on job interviews. They paid for childcare. They held me accountable, which is what I needed at the time. And I didn't spend my money on lottery tickets or alcohol. I didn't go to Vegas. I didn't gamble with it. I still remember the first of my many interviews. It was very scary. And I was nervous, but this is the worst I think. Anyway, looking back on all the preparation I went through, including making a resume, I went on interviews, and then I was hired for a skills training position. It gave me a fraction of my confidence back, which is what I needed. And it felt good to receive a paycheck that I earned myself. And now my life has come full circle. 3 years ago, I was hired by the Ellsworth DHHS office, and I work in this very same department that provided me with the support and resources that helped me when I was at my lowest point. And I've even been promoted since being here. TANF is there to help people who make a sincere life decision that they want to become independent and live a successful life, not there for people who want to abuse the system with no intentions of bettering themselves. But the sad reality is that there are people accepting welfare benefits with no intention of following that path of self-improvement. The system makes it too easy to spend TANF on things like drugs or alcohol, or even to bail a friend out of jail. And that creates a stigma around public assistance that doesn't need to exist. Commissioner Mayhew and Governor LePage are working hard to change that perception of welfare programs and to turn them into an employment program. It's not a lifetime handout. I could not be happier with the results of my experience and the example I have set for my growth. That is why I support this welfare reform legislation, to strengthen the integrity of the TANF program and to help it improve the lives of people addicted to donation. Thank you.
Any questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Just the governor, I don't want to get in the way of you. Actually,
I'm sorry.
they want to hear from you anyway. And I certainly don't want to follow these two young ladies because talk about a story of success and a story of bravery. These two young ladies stepping forward this morning or this afternoon to share with us their story of how they went from dependency to independency. It's just amazing. We all are very proud of them. And we need to hear more success stories exactly like that. That's why I'm here today to be and proud to be the sponsor of this legislation. Maine taxpayers are growing wary of dependency. Both these young ladies talked about the stigma attached to dependency, welfare dependency. The fact of the matter is, too many of us know stories that aren't success stories. We know about the abuse that goes on with the system. I've mentioned myself being at the store in Winterport and watching a young lady come in and buy scratch-off tickets. That's discouraging to anybody that's getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going and running a skidder all day, or somebody that's getting on a fishing boat and working really hard to make a living for their families. And it's all too often that we hear about these stories. So we've got some very common sense welfare reform bill that many of us are quite familiar with. We had a debate just a few months ago about many of the same issues. Unfortunately, partisan politics got involved, and we ended up not passing what I believe, and I think what most Mainers believe, is very common sense welfare reform. The idea that somebody should actually have to go and look for a job to receive a benefit is not unreasonable. And I think that the voters had an opportunity to weigh in on that last November, and I think they did exactly that. We talked a lot about it during the campaigns, and I think the voters expect, and as a matter of fact, are demanding action by this legislation. So I fully expect that our friends from across the aisle are going to join us in trying to make some changes to the welfare system so that we can have more success stories like these two young ladies, where we encourage people to be part of their own success rather than just waiting for somebody else to do it for them. So congratulations to them, and Governor, I will turn it back over to you.
And I'll turn it over to Representative Cadet.
Good afternoon. I want to thank many of the House Republicans who have joined us here today. Last session, we battled this fight right to the very end. At the end of the day, we weren't necessarily successful in passing legislation. But what we did do is we changed the narrative. We changed this into a situation where people in Maine now feel comfortable talking about the fact that welfare reform needs to be a top priority, and it needs to be something that Maine legislators need to enact upon. And I think that message was so important to voters that they brought a majority to the Maine State Senate. We picked up 43 new members in the House and 10 seats net gain in the House. We re-elected Governor Paul LePage with very strong numbers. Commissioner Mayhew deserves huge acclaim for the work that she's done in that department to not only bring about the issue of welfare reform, but also to bring balance to that department so that now we can actually talk about other initiatives like taking care of our disabled. And so I think that we're here, we're joined in this battle together, House Republicans, Senate Republicans, staff, the governor. Again, I want to thank our Republican House members here who are ready to join in this fight. I suspect at the end of the day, we're going to be successful because the Maine people expect it. And so thank you, and thank you all for your hard work.
Any questions from
Governor, the prohibition on using TANF benefits for liquor, cigarettes, etc. How exactly are you doing that? Are you going to eliminate the ability to take cash from the EBT card totally? Or how are you going to do that?
No, I don't believe so.
The purpose behind those prohibitions is, again, to re-emphasize that TANF is for young, vulnerable families for the purchase of basic necessities. The prohibition will be enforced. We will look at and try to monitor transactions that are being used for purposes that were not intended by the program. Obviously, to the extent that we can continue to restrict the amount of cash, looking at vouchers, child care being an example of one that we are closely examining, and having that be a direct payment to a provider to continue to restrict this. But we have got to re-emphasize the intent of this program. A, it's an employment-focused program. And B, it is intended to support vulnerable families with basic necessities.
And people that want to game the system will game the system. We are just talking to retailers, and I will tell you, the retailers that I've been speaking to are really excited about getting this system working the way it was intended to work. And everybody has compassion for those who are having a rough time. We want to help. We just don't want to be abused. It's that simple.
Governor, can you talk a little bit how it works? When you say you're talking to retailers, would the cards not be used there? Because this is a cash benefit, so how does it work?
Well, a lot of people use their card at the retail establishment. And yes, they'll use their card and they'll buy groceries and then they'll take cash out and buy cigarettes. Yes, we're not going to stop that. But we have other ways of monitoring. And frankly, I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Governor, there's a few other bills out there that look at sort of a tiered benefit system.
Yes.
I don't know if you or the commissioner could talk to that, where people end up, maybe making $1 too much and they lose all their benefits. Are you guys open to some kind of changing the system?
Not only are we open to it, we're going to be proposing a program to do exactly that. I am a big supporter of having a tiered program. I introduced a tiered program and it was defeated by the legislature. We are very interested in having people improve their stay in life. And what I mean by that, and particularly with those with mental disabilities and people that go to the clubhouse model, I see it time and again where they work up to 20 hours. If they work at 21 hours, they lose all their benefits. We need to have some flexibility in the system. In fact, last week we met with USDA right here in this room, and we were asking for flexibility and trying to work with people so that they can improve their lives and not keep cutting them off if they earn $1 too much. And I'm all in, and we are going to be coming up with a program shortly that's going to be defining how we want to move forward.
Governor, when can we, is this bill written yet? Can we see the language of it? And sort of a second question, what is in this bill in terms of consequences for violating these rules?
Well, they're going to lose their benefits up to 6 months. I think that's the first time. Third offense. That's what it was. Third offense. And I'll tell you, if we can go further, I'd like, and they continue to abuse, I'm going to seek to get lifetime.
Maybe Gary could go over the different things that we're proposing and the new elements of it.
Just to highlight, and I want to back up a little bit, one of the provisions, again, that was in the bill last year is to require individuals to apply for at least 3 jobs before receiving welfare benefits. We are going to eliminate many of the exceptions that today stand in the way of individuals effectively both participating in TANF through the work program. And again, Maine stands right now facing over $20 million in federal penalties because the state for many years has failed to meet the work participation requirements established by the federal government, and these exceptions continue to thwart our efforts to achieve those work participation rates. We are going to prohibit the use of Maine TANF benefits out of state. We are going to prohibit the expenditures of TANF benefits, as was just discussed, on alcohol, tobacco, gambling, bail, and tattoos. We are going to strengthen the penalties for violation of TANF rules that we just outlined. And then the final is to reform the alternative aid program and prohibit participation in that program if you've already exceeded the 5-year limit in TANF.
Just a quick follow-up there. You said apply for 3 jobs before receiving welfare benefits. You talked about TANF?
Before receiving TANF, correct.
Is there a staffing addition to this? Because just like the other guys, I can't imagine being able to prove that somebody's not getting the cash from one place and then going across the street and buying alcohol. I mean, are you adding more staff to DHHS with this?
As you know, we doubled, the governor proposed and the legislature adopted a doubling of our fraud investigators. So as we continue to prioritize their role, they will be actively engaged in monitoring. We have certainly significantly reduced the number of individuals on TANF, allowing for greater focus among for our staff with their existing caseload to ensure, again, at the end of the day, the goal here is to improve the success for these individuals and helping them to be accountable for what the true intent of the program is and to getting them on a successful pathway. So not only are they able to support themselves, but they're able to support their families. And Jill and Danielle are significant testaments to when people get those resources and we believe in them and in their potential, they can overcome obstacles that many people, I believe, have given up on individuals, that we know they absolutely can achieve success in their lives.
Just to build on that question just a little bit, is there a cost associated with this package in terms of whether it's the changes in EPT system that you're talking about? Is there staff, whatever?
At this time, I don't believe that we've seen any need for any change in the staffing. I'm going to reserve commenting on any technology changes. We've certainly done a lot already as we look at ways in which to maximize our data, to be able to review the data effectively, to identify patterns. Certainly we've spent a lot of time looking at out-of-state transactions in order to identify when individuals are clearly no longer living in the state. But I hesitate because, again, things change as it goes through this process. So.
Are you talking about the data that you'd be, it's like the vendor code, which tells you what items are actually purchased?